Republican Representative Tim Burchett had a statement on the House floor that I want to take a look at. This is the same Tim Burchett who said, as we covered on the last show, that Congress, we shouldn't do anything about gun violence. We're not going to fix it. Same guy. And he recently said something about wind power and solar energy, wind energy and solar energy. And I want to take a look at this and then have a little bit of a lesson for Tim Burchett. Explain to some of those who are confused about these subjects, confused about green energy, and hopefully move them forward on that front.
The Biden administration, and unfortunately the Democrats in Congress, keep pushing these Green New Deal style agendas. And honestly, Mr. Speaker, they just don't work. There hasn't been a new development in solar in over 20 years, and windmills are just what they are, windmills. The wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine in East Tennessee, and I'm sure that's the way it is across this great nation. And it's costing Americans way too much. We're done with all this nonsense, Mr. Speaker. The Biden...
Okay, so just to be as good faith as possible, let's give him one thing in that he was accurate about. Well, I guess the ending was sort of accurate because it's true. The wind's not always blowing hard enough to spin a windmill, and the sun's not always shining in the way that it needs to produce solar energy. But let's give him one credit on one of the true statements he made. He said windmills are just that, windmills. True, windmills are windmills. Correct, Tim Burchett. A few things. First, the constant talking point of the Biden administration either passed the Green New Deal, people have blamed things that have happened on the Green New Deal, or even just the Biden administration supports the Green New Deal. Whenever you're referencing an actual piece of legislation, it's odd to say that either someone supports it when they don't, or someone has passed it when it hasn't been passed. And the Biden administration has indeed not passed the Green New Deal, so that's just not accurate. But if he just means generally investing in green energy, okay, now we can have a conversation, because the Biden administration has, through the Inflation Reduction Act, is currently implementing the largest investment in a climate change response in human history. But let's just go through some of this and explain the basics of why it is that, even though, true, wind is not always blowing as hard as it needs to, and the sun sometimes is blocked by clouds and stuff like that, it's still a very great way to produce energy. Energy Warden writes, wind farms are excellent at teaming up with other types of energy in order to produce a constant supply. Hydroelectric energy or dams can hold off on releasing water on windy days and save it for times when the wind turbines are not producing, sort of covering for each other. Solar and wind can balance out the seasonal shortfalls. So that's wind and then solar. And really the answer to his question is the combination of a multifaceted approach in energy collection and production, as well as battery power. Thankfully, this doesn't mean that the lights are going to go out in your house every time a cloud rolls by. Residential solar systems are set up so they produce excess energy during the sunny times that can continue to power your home around the clock. So I know you guys know this, but how else are we supposed to respond to this celebratory ignorance from many? And it's not to say that we're there yet on being able to, because we're not, power as much as we need to our energy reality with just green energy things. We need to continue to invest. We need to continue to make that shift. But to argue against it with these childish understandings of what is even being discussed is rather strange. And as a little bit of advocacy for the concept of battery power, I have an individual who I know who has a music studio that's fully powered by solar energy. And I've been in there late into the night using all sorts of power sources, and a little bit is taking out the percentage that the batteries stored up during the day. And that's incredible and a great way to produce a whole lot of energy. And again, we're not there yet and be able to snap our fingers and make the switch. But part of the reason is because we're not investing enough and we're not pushing hard enough, at least our leaders aren't, on making that shift which is pretty aggravating because we can work to lower energy costs through more energy production, create jobs through investing in green energy, and address the climate change crisis. But because individuals like Tim Burchett pretend not to know what the heck is going on, we don't do that. And that's very upsetting.